You guys usually get to see my success stories, but not every time that's a success. In fact, there's many times where I just walk away. Usually when it's a piece of equipment that's mine and I really don't have much incentive to fix it, we'll try to fix it, see if we can get it going, but sometimes there's just too many things wrong with it. And I got 3 videos here that I never finished. One was a success, but I never bothered to publish it. 2 of them, well, had varied results. Let's check it out and see what I found in the old bit bin. So we remember this unit, it has a bad motor. Pretty sure that's what the problem is. It could be a laser problem too, but I'm pretty sure it's the motor, it's fault. Board today. I'm here by myself, got nothing to do. I figured I'd just tinker around with this thing a little while longer, kill some time. I got stuff coming in to be repaired, but it has not arrived yet. So for the time being, I'll just tinker around with what I have. Now, how the hell did I get this off? I know it pops off. Just like this. Pop this off the front. Pop the clips off down here. Yeah, and someone was telling me what that gear is for, and that makes sense. It's to wind out the mechanism. There's a spot in the bottom here that you can wind it out down here. We'll try that. Get this bottom cover off. This face plate off here. It does pop out. It just, well, that's why I missed those catches. That's because last time I had it apart, I actually had the basket out first, the mechanism out. So now it should pop out. There. On the bottom here, there's a spot to spin open the mechanism. And what you do is this little gear here that's on here. If you have a disc that's stuck in it, you can take that little gear off, apparently, and lose it. Take that little gear off and you can stuff it onto the end of a screwdriver and use that to, and then you can use that to spin the chassis open from the inside. Anyway, that's what that little gear is for. Just like that. And then I can take this and put this through this hole here where it says open. And turn it and it should open the mechanism. I was hoping that the part to fix my furnace would have come in. The blower wheel decided to explode on it again. This is the second time that that's happened. You want to talk about parts gouging. The last time I replaced it, it was like $120, something like that, or $125 for the blower wheel. This time it broke. It's gone up to $425. Talk about a price jump in, I don't know, when did I change it last? I guess 6 years ago. I think it was 6 years ago. That's when I changed it. Anyway, that's where that gear goes. It goes right into the mechanism here, and it turns the mechanism. Or you can just pop the lid apart, take the top off. But that's what that's for. What I'm curious is whether the 2 motors here are the same. What I don't know is whether the spindle motor and the sled motor have the same length of shaft on them. Should have opened that first. See, that's where that little gear would come in handy, whatever I did with it. It fell off the end of my screwdriver. See, then here, there it is. Let's see if I can reach it now with this open. There we go. It's moving it, you see? That's what that does. Had I had a long enough screwdriver, I could have done it without removing the mechanism, but that's what that little gear does. It turns the mechanism from down below. What I'm curious as to whether the motor is the same. I guess we'll undo this and see whether the two motors are the same. If they're the same, I should be able to pop the one out and replace it with the other. But then again, this motor's open. I can get some lubricant into the bottom of this thing. Let's pop the mechanism apart. Sam, it might be a longer shaft on this, and I'm just looking to see. One motor is deeper than the other, it looks to be. So they may not be the same motor. I was able to get away with that in another CD or another DVD player that used the same motors, but this one here, they appear to be, yeah, one's deeper than the other. So I won't be able to get away with that, but I wonder if I can get some oil into here and down into the bearing here, whether that will quieten things down a bit and make things work a little better. Let's just try that, just for the hell of it. See if I can get this thing working a little bit better. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll try it and see. We'll put a drop of oil down into this motor. And I'm going to throw some into the bottom as well, because I see that there's a hole in the bottom of this motor here. This is the loading motor that drives the traverse and the drawer. This one here is the motor that controls the spindle. So if I put some oil on there and force a bit of oil into that, maybe we can get this thing where it works a little better. I also often wondered about this little nylon sleeve that is held stationary against the motor. From what I understand, that was to stop resonance, stop the thing from resonating. I just wonder if I turn that a bit, maybe it's wearing on one side, and because it doesn't normally spin, but it can be put into different positions. So maybe if I just kind of turn that a bit so that spring is holding it in a different position, maybe that's worn. If we look how the mechanism works on this, the loading motor down here just spins these two gear assemblies, as you can see, and when the optical pickup has returned home, it's going to be mechanically disconnected from the gear here. So when it gets all the way into position, its home position, it gets pulled away, right? This little lever over here pulls this out of the way, so that it's no longer making a connection. It's now locked. You can see it unlocks it by, there's a little cam over here. That releases it, this catch right here. This pulls the laser pickup in, which disengages it and causes the cam to lower the laser assembly, and the gears spin to eject the disc. until it gets to the end of its travel. To put this back in, I'll just put the basket in, push it in all the way, and make sure that it locks in. If I go too far, if I don't have it in the right position, it won't, obviously it won't latch. Oops, I guess it's this way I go. Okay, now that it's all the way in, this will bring up the pickup. There we go. Now the pickup is in position. So this is incorrectly. Place this piece back on. Just like that. Now that's back together. Okay, I'll plug it back in and we'll just give it a try and see whether it will play the disc through. I mean, I don't think it's going to make much difference, if any, but I'm certainly not going to replace the motor unless I come across one that is compatible. I think a lot of these with Panasonic, you actually never even replace the motor, if I'm not mistaken. They sold you the entire Traverse with the motor and everything on it, with like both motors. The optical pickup was separate, but you bought the Traverse, and the Traverse had both motors and all the gears and everything on them, and you just took the pickup from one and put it on the other. And the reason they did that was because the spindle that's on there, the disc clamp, or the disc spindle part that clamps the disc in, is a critical height adjustment, and it was glued on at the correct height at the factory. So they didn't sell just the motor, although we used to buy just standalone motors and take them off and kind of eyeball them and get them to work. Those were the days when we used to fix these things. But DVD repair was very, very short-lived, because unlike VCRs took a while before the price dropped to the point where you could buy a new VCR for like $100. DVD players, on the other hand, they dropped like a rock. Like the price of DVD players, literally within a couple years, they were down to like $100. Yeah, you could still get high-end ones, but most of them were pretty cheap. So at that point in time, people weren't willing to spend a lot of money to fix a DVD player. They'd just go buy a new one. The writing was on the wall when these came out. So we'll spin this one up and see how it plays. Now, if you remember before, when I skipped ahead a few tracks, it started to skip. So we'll just skip ahead and see whether it will skip. This is the fast way to see whether it's going to do it when the motor starts to slow down. Hey, there's a shot of my wife when she was a kid. Doesn't look her age. She's a lot older than she looks there. So this one is actually fixed, and I put this back in service and I've been running it for months. So this one actually is working. I was able to lube the motor and it's holding so far. Let's look at the next disaster. This is an old Mitsubishi VCR. It's dead. The display is dead. Nothing turns on. So we're going to see whether we can save this one or whether it's off to recycling. I don't even know the story on this machine. This was given to me a while back. I don't even know whether I looked at it before or not. It was in my storage locker, so we may have looked at this thing in the past, but it definitely has got a fuse that's missing over here, and another fuse has been replaced at some point with a pigtail type fuse. But there's a fuse missing here I got to replace. Actually, you know what? I don't have to replace it. I can just put a jumper right over top of it and see whether the thing will turn on. Yeah, that's an idea. If I get smoke, I get smoke. Now I got power. Will it turn on? I got snow on the screen, a blue screen. A blue screen of death. Let's just see whether this thing even plays a tape. Say, I don't know anything about it. It was just sitting in a pile, and there was no paperwork or anything on it. So I don't know what the scoop is. I may have even condemned this before and was going to use it as a parts machine. But I'm going through all the old VCRs that I've got and just getting rid of stuff because I've got too many of them. And I will never ever use them. So I've been putting them up for sale and trying to get rid of stuff. It doesn't accept the tape. Just makes some noise. I guess the next step is we'll pull the bottom off it and see whether there's anything in the bottom that is out of order. So these were a pretty good machine. These were Mitsubishis, and I used to like the Mitsubishi sets back in the day. But I don't know what happened, where this one came from. All I know is that all these old machines are pretty long in the tooth now, and they were well built when they were new, but they were an aluminum chassis, and that was one of their strengths, was they had the aluminum die-cast chassis. But the problem with that is parts tend to seize up. Like, you'll get people that will say, oh, I want a machine that's got metal parts, because the metal parts are never going to break. The metal parts get seized up. That's the problem with them. And these ones were very notorious for the black grease problem that caused everything to get glued together. There was a reaction that took place between the different types of metals, and they just seized up. So even though the idea behind the solid aluminum chassis was good, it did not translate into more reliability. These machines were always mechanically problematic. These ones also were known for blowing up capacitors in the power supply. Oh, yeah, okay, well maybe that's why it doesn't work. There's a belt that's missing. Oh, wonderful, look at this. This one's had a trace repair done on it. Got a missing belt. Looks like it was lubricated before. But missing belt. Do I have a belt that might fit this thing? I might have one. Do I have a belt here? Probably not. It's probably way too big. Yeah, way too big. I wonder if I've got a belt that might fit this thing. We'll see. This one has had lots of work done on it. Check the Hall effect sensor for the frequency generator. Corrosive glue, I guess, got to it, or it got wet. It might have got wet, or capacitors that popped on this thing. You know, this might just be one for the scrap heap. I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking, you know, I think this was one that was condemned. Looking at it now, I think we're going to just scrap this machine. I've got a Sony SLVR5. It's not outputting any color, for starters. Color bars are our friend. They give us a lot of idea of what's going on with the picture. You can see that there's, looks to be the demodulator is not working properly. Looks to be bandwidth problems. If we look at the noise in the mid bar there, there's a lot of noise in this picture. It doesn't look good. So this has got a video problem. It could have a power supply problem for that matter. I don't know. This is one of these machines that, you know, this is my machine. I fixed it once before, and it was fine when I put it away, but it's been sitting around for a while, hasn't been used, and I was just going through some of my machines and plugged this one in, and crap, it's gone bad again. So we got to start over. This is the problem whenever you've got this old equipment, right? Whenever you've got old equipment, things just go bad. It's probably capacitors, it could be module for that matter, I don't know. But let's get started and see whether I can figure out what's wrong with this one. I'd like to get it going so I can sell some of this stuff. I got too many machines, I got to get rid of some of this stuff. It doesn't do any good me sitting on this old equipment just to have it deteriorating and failing. So I've pulled the screws, removed the side panels, and removed the top cover. I believe all the video is processed in here on this one. This is the video board here. There are 3 boards that go down inside here that I believe that's where all the video processing is done on this one. And it doesn't play back SVHS tapes either. Both of them look exactly the same. Well, that's weird. I was just kind of poking around on this board and the color kicked in. I was getting the board prepped to pull, and the color came back. It still looks like crap though. Looks like it's the demodulator is not working properly. It could also be, I don't think the heads are in bad shape on this thing. I think the heads are okay. I don't think it's a head problem. Might be a problem in the preamp too. Preamp could certainly give us symptoms like this. Bad caps in the preamp. Maybe I'll check that first. So say it's been sitting around for a while, and it's hard to say what may or may not have gone wrong with it. Just parked and sitting around. I think I can unplug this preamp if I just undo those plugs, and we'll pop out the preamp. You can see where I was testing the RF on it when I worked on this last, which was a while back. I know that caps are a real problem on this machine, right? I've done caps before. Well, this one, the caps have been done in here, I think. They've all been done on this one. That's probably what I did last time to make it work. Well, the surface mounted caps were done. I don't think I did these other ones, so we'll check these ones here. We'll check these little ones here, because I don't think these ones were done. They don't look like they were done. They were probably measured, and they measured okay. The surface mounted caps, this one was done because it was leaking. You can see there's crap on the board. I'm going to concentrate on this board. We're going to get a close look at this and just see whether some of these other caps are gone bad. That's a likely cause right there, because this failure on the preamp board will cause the symptoms that we're seeing. Let's just use the little portable ESR meter on some of these caps here and just take a look at what they read. 8.6 microfarads. What is this supposed to be, a 10? I think it's a 10. What do we got here? These are that's a 1. A 1 at 50 and a 10. So this one is a 1 and that one is a 10. So the 1 is measuring 972 nanofarads, so that's pretty close to 1. What about the 10? 8.6 microfarads, so it's in 5 ohms, which is probably okay. A 1 having 27 ohm ESR, but that's probably okay. And a 10, that one's probably okay too. So I don't think it's these two. We'll just measure a few of the other on here. This is the one I replaced. Okay, I believe that the preamp probably is okay. It's probably on the luminance board over here, luminance chrominance board, which is the video signals come up this cable, the RF signals come up this cable and are transferred into the center board here. And a lot of processing is done on these three boards, so I guess the next thing we got to look at is the signal going through this board here. I was staring at this board and I saw what might have looked like a little bit of a splash of solder across right in here. And I just picked away at it with my dental pick and cleared it out of there. I didn't get a shot of it though because my head was in the way. I'm going to check some of these caps here. We'll check them in circuit. There's more electrolytic caps on both of these boards. Unfortunately, making adjustments on this machine is really quite difficult once it's back together because, as you can see, adjustments, well, you got a board in the way, right? When you've got the two boards put together, it's a tough one to work on because, again, adjustments and so forth are covered up. There was actually an extender card available when this was for service people, that you pull the cards out and you plug them together with an extender in between, so that you could actually flip the boards apart and do some troubleshooting. Of course, this was the only machine that they used this design. They changed it the next year, but this has got all the digital processing for the for that edit window and so forth on it. I think the 757 used a similar system to this as well, if I remember correctly. Another thing, it's got some of this crap that deteriorates after a while, this double-sided tape. But this is the board where all the magic takes place. You've got your E to E level, and you've got your deviation adjustment here. I think this is deviation, yeah, that's deviation adjustment for standard and for high band. Carrier for standard, carrier for high band, white clip, dark clip, something else for high band, can't read this one. Playback Y level. So this is where the demodulation takes place on this board here, which of course is also talking to this board. This one's got your Y noise reduction, gain and chroma noise reduction, phase adjustments, YNR balance. So I think our fault is going to be on this. And say I saw a solder splash on there, so that might be. I mean, if it's been there a long time, because I didn't do any work on this board when I worked on this machine before. I did the power supply on it, I think, and the caps in here, and then it was working. But I'm curious about this double-sided tape. We're going to get that out of here. Is it causing a short? At this point, I just kind of threw my hands in the air and said, you know what? Screw this. I'm done with this one. I can't test the board. I don't have a service manual. I don't have the card extender, the cables, so I can't even operate it with the board apart for doing measurements. So I figured, you know what? This is going to become a parts machine. That's it. I'm going to stop it now. I've given up on this one. It's a parts donor. I do have another R5. Maybe someday we'll do board swaps and narrow down which board the fault is on. It's on one of these three, that's for sure. Whenever I see any of this adhesive crap that goes over top of traces, especially through connectors where there's actually a connection and it doesn't have solder mask on it, you gotta wonder, is it creating some problems? Because it doesn't take much in terms of leakage to give you headaches, cause problems. It's not like this one owes me anything either. I got it for free, so you know, it was just given to me. I got it going the first time with the power supply problem, but it's acting up again. So that's it. Thanks for watching.